I challenged myself to a cold plunge every day for 30 days. Do I have what it takes to complete this challenge? Can I do this? Let's find out. This ancient biohack is sweeping the nation, if not the whole world. More and more people are jumping into these cold lakes, cold rivers, ice baths, you name it, and they're experiencing the positive physical effects. Now, I did a little bit of research myself. I checked out Wim Hof's YouTube podcast, and I also did some deep dive into the neurological and other scientific effects that do occur on your body via the Andrew Huberman Lab or Dr. Andrew Huberman Lab podcast and his blog. Now, after doing that research, I wanted to see what cold plunging for 30 days could do for me. Now, I understand I am a mere mortal. And to be honest, I took on this challenge during the busiest time of the year, December. So December 1st through December 30th or beyond if I need to. But December is the busiest time for my family. We've got Christmas, we got holidays. We have my own birthday during that month, and I really don't know I never know what's to come for that. So going through December and deciding to do this challenge, I came across more challenges than my own mind telling me not to do this, not to get into the cold, and not to form a new habit. I dealt with viruses, sniffles, colds, not sleeping at night because my daughter was up coughing most nights, and things like that. So this turned out to be more of a challenge than I even realized. But I realized about halfway through, if I could make it through this challenge, if I could do all 30 days without a hiccup, without any stops, I could really set the tone for the rest of the winter and fight those winter blues that I normally get and set a good example for my daughter. Just a quick rewind. This is not my first rodeo. I have done ice baths before. Rewind back to 2021. I did my first ice bath ever in a trough, no less, and filled with ice. It actually had froze overnight. We had to break the ice open with a hatchet in order for us to get in there. And of course, I got in there and did 3 minutes. Now, honestly, this was very shocking to me, the fact that I could even do 3 minutes. Wow, I couldn't believe it, but it also sets the tone for my own confidence and what my body can do. So knowing that, fully aware, hey, if I could do this every day, what kind of effects could that have on my mood? What kind of effects could that have on my confidence? And how can that translate into my athletic life? Now, I'm just going to go through what my experience was like, and then I'm going to go ahead and talk about what kind of benefits this can have for you and how it can translate into your running. I'll also share my experience and how it benefited me, specifically mentally. Now, days 1 through 7. Day 1, not a problem. I knew that this was coming. I decided on this feat. Let's get after it. So I did. 2 minutes in the water, in the cold lake, and it was okay. Got out, felt good, felt this rush of dopamine and adrenaline and kind of just overall happiness that I did this really hard thing and moved on. But I will be honest, let's just get into the thick of it. Around day 7 through 9, my mind really started to get really stubborn. It would just all day feed me these things that would make me believe that I was actually causing harm to myself, creating more stress in my life, etc. Now, a lot of these thoughts were pretty logical. Yes, the cold is a stressor. And the fact that I have 100 other things on my plate every day stressing me out, and then I was willingly adding this other thing to my day, my mind was just going crazy. It was telling me not to do it, that I could be creating harm on myself. And, all this stress is okay, but not all the time. Giving yourself it all at once is insane. What I found here was on the days that I would finally get down to the water. Now, by the way, I was putt-putting along, just making every excuse not to get my butt down to that water, and just not, I guess the word or the phrase would be productive procrastination. I would find many other things to do instead of just getting it done, getting down to the water and feeling good, you know? So finally, I will say every day I did this, I got those euphoric feelings. I felt that, I guess it could be those endorphins, the dopamine hit that you get. That's your brain's reward system. I would get this every day. What's funny about it is like my mind couldn't wrap around the fact that you're going to feel good afterwards. You might as well just do the hard thing, get it over with, because you're going to feel fantastic afterwards. It was like I couldn't get past that. I couldn't get through it. And finally, on those days, let's say day 7 through 9, when the thoughts were the loudest and I finally got my butt down to the water, it was such a release. First of all, getting in the water, I was calm, I was relaxed, and it was like my body, in a way, was like, couldn't wait for this. Like, this is something that I do for myself. It actually does help with inflammation. And I'm doing deep breathing, which naturally, while I'm in there, I'm not doing any kind of Wim Hof method breathing. No, nothing special. I'm just focusing on getting full deep breaths in through my nose and out. And because of this, I think what I'm doing is harnessing the ability to calm down in stressful situations. In the meantime, it's becoming more of a good thing, and my body is seeing it that way versus a extremely hard thing. So I realized on days that those loud voices, that loud thought process would come in and kind of derail my day. I realized if I had allowed that to happen, if I had allowed those thoughts to take up residency and actually convince me not to go into that water, I wouldn't be on the other side of that. And what does that mean? That means all of a sudden, specifically by day 9, I started to feel that the water wasn't a big deal. Yeah, I was in the water, it was cold, yes, but it was just fine. I also felt that thermal layer get created around me a lot quicker. And a lot of people don't realize is that when you are in ice baths, there is a thermal layer that, so essentially the heat from your body, it kind of starts to surround you. And if there's no current brushing that off, that can actually hold your warmth too. So I almost felt like a superhuman because I'm in this cold water. And actually on days that there was actually ice on the pond as well, I could warm up the water around me. Like, if that's not a superpower, I don't know what is. And then, of course, the hit of dopamine and endorphins after, it seemed like the harder it was and the more of a fight that my brain was putting up, that my thoughts were putting up, the harder the dopamine and endorphin hit that I would get after that ice bath. Because it's not only a physically hard thing, it's a mentally hard thing, especially when you are going against what your brain is telling you to do. Like, hey, this is survival. Get the hell out of the water. Stay out of the water. Why are you doing this on purpose? So let's talk about that. So heading into that and knowing that by day 9, oh my God, all of these realizations happen. I have this epiphany, and I realize if I had quit, if any time in my life I would have quit when those thoughts were so convincing, that I was like on the cusp of pure success. And they say that, and I never realized that in truth, that you are closest to success when things get that hard. When your brain is putting up a fight, if your thoughts are putting up a fight to that point, you're probably right there closer to success. And I believe this to be true specifically in this challenge. Now, I can continue to say that I completed all 30 days, but honestly, I continued on until right into January 2nd. Through this challenge, I had my daughter come down with me to the water. Some of her friends who were sleeping over those nights would come in too and just dip their toes in or just starting to get in, or pop in and pop out. All really fun. Very special on Christmas Day. My sister-in-law came with me, who actually introduced me to ice baths in the first place. She was there conducting this retreat in the woods for women, and that ice bath was part of her agenda for that day. So it was really special to be able to do that with her. Rewind just a little bit on my birthday. That was another thing. Like, I realized that I'm so lucky. I just turned 40 years old, and here I am doing something crazy and hard, along with the weather, which was not really cooperative. The weather was like 20 degrees. The water was pelting me because the wind was high. There was a huge current. There was no time for that thermal layer to be created around me. And I just realized at all that moment, it was still beautiful. Now, knowing that I actually kind of created this rift, they say there's like that ripple effect that occurs when you do something as big as a challenge every day. Now, I shared my experience almost every day on Instagram. I'd either make a reel or go live, and my neighbors started to take notice. Obviously, some of them could see me out there going, who is this crazy girl? What is she doing? And by January 1st, New Year's Day, my neighbors asked if they could do it too, and were lovely enough to invite me over to their spot on the pond where they actually have a beach and the sun shining on them. So we got that. I did 3 minutes that day, and they did whatever goal that they wanted to do. Something one of my neighbors is very good about. She's been doing ice baths for a while here and there. And then my new neighbor, who never's really done it, she jumped in, and it was fantastic. And I think that's like the point to all this, right? I just want to find things that have helped me, whether that's mentally, physically, emotionally, and I want to share it with the world. I want to share it with my friends, my loved ones, and then anyone who would be interested. So that brings me into kind of the final portions of this video, and to talk about like what kind of benefits and what kind of myths are surrounding cold exposure as well. Now, the benefits, of course, I experienced were mental. I deal with the winter blues every year. Seasonal depression is a very real thing for me. Unless I'm getting myself outside running a few times a week, just getting outside, seeing the sunlight. But there are times that there's no sunlight for days or even weeks around where I live here in New England. So having this purpose to go outside every day and somehow I'm getting a little bit of sunlight to my eyes, or just being part of nature, really helped my mental attitude. It helped me so much and gave me that extra energy. The other part of this is the neurological effects. Now, I'm going to get into how this can benefit you as a runner. And also, because you're here at the channel, you probably are now strength training as well. Hopefully you're not just a runner, you are also strength training specifically for your running, or maybe for any other sport that you may be involved in. So the deal is, okay, and I'm going to just share, I would do these ice baths before a strength training session or before a run. I felt more power output from my body, and I had more energy to put more power and energy into my workouts, if that's a thing. So I would relate it to taking a pre-workout. I really would. So I just, honestly, on those days, I felt fantastic. I would warm up a little bit before my workouts, just like I normally do after taking the ice bath. But I had such a surge of energy and felt good and felt like I could do so much more when I would do that. That also rolled into my running. If I did the ice bath before my run, I would ice bath, warm up, and then start heading out. I just felt more pep in my step, more powerful. I think perhaps that dopamine hit has a lot to do with that. You're already experiencing those endorphins, so then you can just continue to drag them through. So just everything felt more rewarding. That workout, the run, it's just a lot harder to wrap your head around the fact that you'll be doing an ice bath and you will be going out for a run or doing a hard workout session. So good luck there. That's what I experienced. It was very hard for me. I had to just break it down and say, at least just do your ice bath. Now, okay, go out, do your run or do your strength training session. So This actually correlates with a lot of the studies that are out there. I have links below if you are interested in taking like a deep dive into Andrew Huberman, Wim Hof, or any of the studies done around cold exposure. And honestly, this is right around what they are suggesting. Now, lots of people for many eons, I'm sure, have been taking ice baths for post-workouts, post-runs. I'm here to tell you that's not the best idea. Now, if you're training for anything, such as a race, marathon, whatever it be, or you lift weights because you're looking for that muscle hypertrophy, you're looking to tone up, you're looking for that aesthetic, or just trying to strength train in general, so you're trying to get gains, unfortunately, taking that ice bath after is actually preventing those beautiful, wonderful effects that do occur that have a lot to do with the inflammation process in our bodies. So if you're going to take the ice bath, do it before your run if you must. Or you could even do cold showers, although not as potent as a full submersion up to your neck in the ice cold. But still, you can get those endorphins. You can really help that. Here's some fun facts too. There is an increase in testosterone when you take your cold shower or your ice bath specifically before your workouts. Now, women are probably going, no thanks, I don't want the testosterone, but truly you do. There's a reason for it. There's a certain amount of testosterone. Testosterone promotes muscle growth, okay? So if you are looking for that, and in men specifically who are now, studies are showing, carry less testosterone versus their grandfathers. So if you're looking for that natural testosterone boost, that's the way to go, is taking that ice bath before your workout and doing anything that challenges your body in that way. Now, how does this help while you're on your run? I have noticed, for me specifically, that when I'm doing like a hard run, like intervals, high intensity intervals on the tracks, when it's specifically training for any kind of higher speed, like a 5K, 10K, or even a half marathon, I have found when I was taking ice baths that my mental processing, my thought process was a lot more positive because perhaps I already knew that I could do these hard things. But also just the fact that when things got ornery, when I'm pushing myself, specifically at those higher speeds, where my body, my mind would specifically say, hey, slow down, this is awful, this hurts, this feels terrible, why are you doing this? I was a lot easier to ignore those thoughts because I have done so much. And this in particular really started to kick in by day 9 through throughout the entire rest, but just got stronger and stronger. The ability to ignore those thoughts. That's what I'm here for, right? Like, I am just trying to figure out a way to quiet this thing when it is trying to hold me back from all the wonderful things that I want to do and goals I want to reach. Again, this is our brain. It's here to protect us, and it uses fear to do so in times, which is a good thing. But there is that irrational fear sometimes that can hold us back, and that's something that I deal with personally. Now, obviously, over the course of this time, and like I said, it didn't take that long for me to really experience the benefits of just feeling less sensitive to cold. But honestly, this whole cold exposure thing really helps out in your metabolism. So I'm not going to get too deep into it, but if you are someone who's looking to lose weight, specifically reduce your body fat, this actually can rev up your metabolism. You're burning more calories. You are adopting more fat burn because of the processes that are required to warm your body up. So not to get too deep into that, but this is something that can help increase your metabolism, which in turn will help you to burn fat and lose weight. Now, with all this being said, you're probably wondering, all right, do I have to do it every day? No, actually, with those blogs and those studies that I had found specifically from Dr. Andrew Huberman, 11 minutes per week total is all you need to experience the benefits. That's it. So this brings you to the question of, well, how cold? How cold does it have to be for me to experience these benefits? Well, this is actually up to you. What can actually induce the shivering response? Because that shivering response is actually what's going to prompt your brain and your nervous system to do the work, to do the adaptations to your body, or to start those adaptations to your body. In other words, so that you can be able to handle that temperature next time. So this is all under the Schoberg principle. I probably mispronounced that, but yeah, it is up to you. Whatever induces shivering is the best way to go. Now, personally for me, as I think I mentioned earlier, I did not prompt that shivering response often. My goal was to get out there, but I was dealing with below freezing temperatures most days during December. So my number one thing was to prevent frostbite. So I would get my hands dried off, I would get my clothes on, and I would run back into the house and then continue the warming up process from there. Now, they do recommend in that Schoberg principle, you do need to induce that shivering for a better response. But I will say I still had a response even though I didn't shiver every time. So in other words, I could still feel better under that cold. So in conclusion, I think this was a really fantastic challenge for myself. My number one problem usually is my self-belief. It's all up here. Believing in myself is something that I've been working on for a long time, and I do believe it's like a lifelong mission, a lifelong teaching for myself. So being able to do something hard every day and completing that task, completing that mission, and it being as hard as it is to sit in cold and force yourself to do it when everything up here is telling you to stop and get out, that is what induced most of my growth. And I would say the growth came from self-improvement up here and the thought process. It's like so much easier to ignore those thoughts that tell me that I can't do it. I'm in over my head. What are you doing? You're crazy. This is not something that you were built for. All those thoughts that come to your mind that are just not true. And sometimes you can kind of get caught up in them. And that's me personally. I get caught up in those thoughts. So overall, if you're a runner, if you are a weightlifter, bodybuilder, you name it, I think just normal human beings can benefit from this. Also, if you are looking to maybe do a race that's in a colder climate and that you do not have access to like real cold weather, doing ice baths will increase your tolerance to the cold over time. And just remembering that breathing is the number one thing here. You are focusing in on your breath, you are honing in, and you are replacing that panic and that adrenaline with calm. You're still going to have that adrenaline response at times, but know that that's a natural response and it was put in and built into your body for a reason. It's what gets us to jump when we need to jump just that much farther. That initial response of adrenaline pumping through our veins allows us to perform better, allows us to run farther, faster, and be just stronger in a moment. So remembering that as well. So in conclusion, like I said, amazing benefits physically, but also for me mentally. And I hope that you guys try this out and let me know if you do, and let me know how it goes in the comments below. If you like this video, if you learned something, please feel free, give us a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us out and really helps us figure out what you guys want to know and see in future videos. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. Have a good one. I'll see you out there running. Hopefully I see you out there. Bye.